Welcome to Plugged In, a podcast by Okefenokee REMC about our co-op, our community, and our shared connections. I'm Michelle Hutchins, your Director of Communications and Marketing here at OREMC. And today I am joined by Deondra Lightfoot from Church Girls, Inc. Deondra, thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
So you and I met about 3 years ago.
Yes, ma'am.
When you received one of the very early grants from our newly established OREMC Foundation.
Yes, ma'am.
And at that time, the trustees, Sonia Walker, and I came and presented the check to you at your Kingsland location, your blessing room, your resource center. And well, a lot has happened in 3 years.
Yes, ma'am.
You've expanded into Folkston with another blessing room, but then beyond that, now we've got a temporary housing project. So, Deondra, tell us a little bit about you and about Church Girls, and educate us a bit.
Well, I started Church Girls out because I was a single mom at the time, and I just remember working about 2 jobs to take care of my daughter. So I decided I was really heavy in my church. I was my pastor's assistant, and I loved prayer lines. I did. I loved prayer lines. And so Church Girls started out as a prayer line.
Oh,
and many people don't know that, but I really wanted people to have an understanding what God could do for them, if they put God in their lives. But I remember the prayer line got huge. People were calling from all over the world, just listening, women gathering together on Thursdays to pray. And I remember telling my director, Ashley, I said, Ashley, you can give people God all day. You can tell them things that God is going to do, but you have to give them the substance. Mm-hmm. So I got my team together, and they thought I was crazy because here we are. We don't have a 501c3. We don't have anything. We're just literally helping people from hotels, paying for their hotels, paying some utility bills, buying groceries, helping at the local nursing homes here. And I just had I was a little girl, a little lady with a big vision. And I believe that once I put God on top of the vision, we were able to make Church Girls, develop Church Girls.
So you were just an informal group of friends that started this.
Yes.
And doing all the things you just talked about doing, helping fellow congregational members and people in the community you knew that needed some help.
Yes, ma'am. And that's really how Church Girls got started, just wanting to help people in our community. I'm a very, very big on Camden County. I am. And so after that, fast forward, Church Girls started in 2015. So at about 2019, I met my ex-husband, and I had a vision board in my house, and it was about that size. Mm-hmm. And on my vision board, I had Church Girls, a few offices, but I had a transitional home like Ronald McDonald.
Okay.
And one day he actually said to me, he said, "What is that?" And I said, "It's my vision board for Church Girls." And so long story short, I came home one day and he gave me a key to a little square office behind Zaxby's. And he said, if you want to do this, you really need to do it. So I had one office. So I had 3 desks in one office. My desk, Ashley's desk, and Takesha's desk. Ashley's the director, Takesha's the CFO. Mm-hmm. And so I said, y'all, I have no idea what we're doing, but I know that this is where God is pulling my heart. And so we contacted a company over here in Brunswick, and she helped us get a 501c3.
Okay.
So we got a 501c3, and I'm like, oh, y'all, we're really doing something now,
You're official.
Yeah, we're official. And so we just started reaching out to the community, and my heart is so big. I said, COVID was hot at the time, Miss Michelle. And so, many people did not have access to internet. Yeah. They did not. And, schools were we were all virtual. Mm-hmm. And so I said, why don't we do a resource center? Mm-hmm. The resource center was the room full of computers, and families would be able to come and rent a space at the time. And I don't mean money-wise. Come and sign up for an hour or two. Time. Yeah. Yes, ma'am. And so then I have about 4 closets full of clothes. Mm-hmm. And so I'm a firm believer that when you're on hard times, you don't need to feel or look like you're on hard times. Sure. So I said, can we add one more office and I want to make it the blessing room. Mm-hmm. And so I bought all of my clothes. My team bought all of their clothes. And we bought some essential items. And we said, we're going to give this stuff away for free. People could not believe it. Because if I'm on hard times, I may not have $5 to go to another organization, you know, to get something for an interview. And so we did just that. We did that. We partnered with Community Action Authority. And they were the first person to give me a grant. Uh-huh. Yep. Mm-hmm. And that's how we kind of got our feet wet a little bit with grants.
So, and that's what I remember when I first met you, is you had the two offices, the resource room and the blessing room, where, and I think you were largely geared to women. I don't know that that's completely true now, but
we were when we first started.
You were.
Yes, ma'am.
And that it was a place where they could get good, clean, you know, professional clothing to kind of help take those next steps.
Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely. And so how you know how then, and how, you know, just focusing on the Kingsland location, how then did people find out about your resource room and the blessing room, and what's changed there in, say, the last 3 years?
I will tell you that Church Girls got our public start from the chamber, Allison Shore.
Okay.
Allison Shore, I met with her. And she pointed me in the right direction, I have to be honest, because I had no idea what I was doing. So she took a meeting with me. My friend told me to join the chamber. Yep. So we joined the chamber. She said, if you join the chamber, people don't really understand that to run an organization, connection means a lot.
Yes.
And I connected with Allison Shore. When I walked in her office, she had a piece of paper with all of these businesses she wanted me to reach out to. Oh. And all of them started funding Church Girls.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And they started funding Church Girls, and that's literally how we got our name in Kingsland, because of the chamber.
Oh, well, that's fabulous. Yes. That's what chambers are for.
Yes, ma'am.
So you, I mean, kudos to you for using a very strong backbone organization to help boost yours, and bring in the top of mind awareness to the community. Ma'am. That's awesome. See, so much I did not know.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So, well, and then it wasn't too long after I met you, you know, in 2022, that you had reached out. I would say in less than a year, you said, hey, Michelle, you know, how does this work if we want to try to apply for one in Folkston? And, you know, we talked about the fact it's still the same organization, so we still needed to wait the appropriate amount of time. But then you opened a location in Folkston. So how did that come to be?
So actually, I met Bobby Davis. At the time, I was working for Safe Harbor. And Safe Harbor, I am a person of, when you get a client with Safe Harbor, you can either just give them a few nights at a hotel, or my ex-boss, Mr. Jeff, used to say, Lightfoot is going to go above and beyond. Well, this particular individual, I really liked and I felt like he had no family. So I began to case manage him, you know, outside of Safe Harbor.
I gotcha.
And Bobby Davis is over Housing Authority. So I went to the Housing Authority trying to get this individual a place. So Bobby and I and the Salvation Army, all three of us partnered together, and we skyrocketed. And so Bobby came to me, he said, listen, I love, you know, what you have going on. He had Anointed Boxing. So we began to collaborate together. I helped him. He had a 501c3, but to have a 501c3, you still need resources.
Correct.
So at the time, Church Girls had just became able to go work at the Jaguar Stadium. So I told Bobby, I said, listen, this is how Church Girls is able to function. Let me help you get to the Jaguar Stadium. So I did just that. And he said, listen, I got a building in Folkston that I'm not even using the other side. And so I said, you know, my faith is strong. My pastor always tell me, you know, you can do anything if you have faith. Of course. And so I said, well, Bobby, I'll try to put an office over there, because at that time we had rental assistance. Okay. And so we had so much funding that we needed to help another county.
Gotcha.
And we had mastered Camden. We had 98 individuals from Camden that we stopped homelessness from. So we paid their rent. And so when we got to Charlton, we had about 20, because Charlton is a kind of like a closed-in town. They have to see it constantly to believe that, you know, you're there to help them. Okay. So we went over to Folkston and partnered with Bobby, and he started sending me people that the Housing Authority needed help.
And we should mention that Anointed Boxing has also received a grant from OREMC Foundation. And so, I mean, we became aware of his efforts through you. Yes, ma'am. So it's all very connected.
It's all very connected. And I actually told him that. I said, listen, so you have on 501c3, you can apply for Okefenokee. And he was like, how do you do that? So me and his wife, I'll never forget it. We did a meeting. I helped him with the application. And then when you guys presented Church Girls the check, they were there. Because I wanted them to introduce, it's nothing, you can have a wealth of knowledge, but if your hand is closed, you know, God wants us to have our hand open to help people. So that's Anointed Boxing was able to become a part of the Okefenokee family as well. Yes. Through connection. Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely. So that's how you got to Folkston.
That's how we got to Folkston.
Okay. And so you had a blessing room there.
Yes.
Now, are you still using that same location?
I am not.
I didn't think so.
I am not. So once the funding was over, it was hard for me, even though I think I'm Superwoman, it was hard for me and my team to go back and forth. So we kind of shut down at Bobby's. And he was using it for outreach stuff, which was still good. Right. And it's still aligned with our vision. So him and I and his wife, we have a great relationship. And so to believe it or not, Miss Michelle, we was not doing any activity in Folkston at all.
For a bit.
Yeah. We had to focus back on Camden. Right. And back to the beginning of this story, remember I told you I had a transitional home on my vision board. When I was locked out of Church Girls' email for about 6 months, the admin email. So each one of us have our own email. I have an email as the founder. The director has an email. And so Ashley, she called me one night and she said, there's a man in Church Girls' email that's saying he wants to meet you for a property. And so I'm like, Ashley, that got to be a scam. So she lives about 5 minutes away from me. So she came over to the house. She got me back in Church Girls' email and I read it. And I said, Ashley, his name is Mr. Lim and he has a picture at the bottom of his email. I said, he looks like a scam. So she said, I really believe we go to the same ministry. And so her faith, Ashley's faith is like mine. She just like, no, we need to call them. So of course we called. They're all the way on the other side, like Arizona or something. The time thing was maybe even farther than that. And so the time zone is different where they are. Okay. And so we called and we got a voicemail. We got a receptionist. So she said, it's going for the day, but let me transfer him to the voicemail. So we left a message. I said, Ashley, if he calls back, he calls back. This was last February. I said, if he doesn't, that wasn't for us. So true indeed, he called me back that night. Wow. And he said to me, I was getting ready to go on vacation. And he said, I'm going to be in Folkston in 2 days. I want to meet you. Okay. And so I said, okay. So I called my accountant. And then me and him and Ashley went. And we met him. And he said he Googled organizations, nonprofit organizations in Folkston. And Church Girls came up. So do you see how strategic God is? Yes, absolutely. We will only be there because of Bobby's address. Right. If we didn't have a Folkston location, we wouldn't have come up. So we met him, and I was supposed to fly out to Orlando to go to the Bahamas, but I only had about 24 hours. He said he wanted me to do a presentation. After we got to the property, Miss Michelle, I fell in love with it. I said, oh my God, this is what we want. It's 26 units, so we can house families. We can have some affordable housing. So me and my team, we stayed up for 24. I felt like it was 24 hours, creating a PowerPoint, talking about Church Girls' vision. And I will never forget it. My boyfriend, he said to me, he said, it's in you. He said, it's in you. So all you have to do is present it. We went to the business meeting, and before I left, he told me, when you get back from the Bahamas, we're going to give you some keys to the property.
Wow.
That's how we got in Folkston.
Well, let's back up just a little bit. So the transitional housing was on your vision board. Why was it on your vision board?
My daughter was born 2.5 pounds, and I had to stay in the Ronald McDonald House. So when I stayed there, I used to always it's really, you see families from all over the world there. That's heartfelt. And I always said that if I got a home, I would want it to be a transitional home, just for not for sick kids, for families that fall on hard times.
Yep.
So that's why I had it on there.
So that was the vision, even back then. So it was rooted in your own experience, a different reason for being in a transitional home, but nonetheless, it kind of framed the experience.
Correct.
And the idea.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, and like you said, it was on your vision board. You didn't necessarily know exactly where you wanted it.
Right.
So the location is in Folkston. And so he gave you the keys.
He gave me the keys. And when we got back from the Bahamas, it was a lot of work to be done. They ran the property down. And
where in Folkston is it specifically?
It is leaving almost out of Folkston before you get to Waycross. So before
headed north.
Headed north, yes. That's where the property is.
Is it an old hotel?
It is an old hotel.
Okay.
Yes.
And you said 26 units?
26 units.
Okay. All right. So rundown.
We were like, I think my family probably thought I was crazy because they were like, are you sure? Like, where are we going to get funding from this? Because we're running funding for Camden. And so no, I said, no, I just believe that, God is in this. Like, we don't know. I went to Lowe's and I contacted a few businesses, wrote them some letters, and they actually started donating stuff to us. At the time, and I'm glad my landlord knows this from Sunsell, Miss Shelley, she's been really a blessing to church girls. I had a young lady living in my office in Camden, and she had been there for almost a year and some change, and literally like a blow-up bed. She was an elderly lady, but she came to me because she had an at-home job, and living in a hotel, you have to have stable internet. So that goes back to the resource center.
Yeah.
So she was able to work from there. And so one time she couldn't pay for her rent. So I said, you know what? I don't have much to offer you. But what I do have is my space here. So we put her there. Long story short, when we got Folkston, she was our first tenant to move in.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
And you had mentioned earlier Bobby Davis and the Housing Authority. So you already had that connection. So I was going to ask you, how did people become aware of what was developing, or what is, because it's still developing.
It's still developing.
What is developing, and who's eligible, and how do they find out?
So Bobby and I we're still partnering together. So when he gets a few people, the housing list is very long. It's very long, and he runs 3 properties.
Okay.
So what happens is we kind of piggyback off of each other. If someone comes, or we put up our own list saying, hey, this is what you're eligible for. They have to have a full-time job. It is affordable housing. It's $750 for 1 room, and that's including water. And we had 2 units that were actually 2 bedrooms.
Okay.
So they're $850, and that is including water. It's still developing. I've only been able to house at this time 6 families so far. And you know what? God is good, because we just got a permit on Monday to move forward to the other buildings.
Oh, not all of them?
For all of them,
wow.
Yes. So, I mean, we had to repipe a lot of stuff. So it's a lot of construction going on, but I wouldn't change it for anything, because God has really, really blessed church girls. The owners of the property literally gave it to church girls this past December. They said that we've been consistent. We've been consistent. We've taken care of the property. We did everything in the agreement. And literally, Ms. Michelle, when he called me and told me, he called an emergency meeting. And he said, hey, we had a board meeting last night, and they did an interview with me over the phone. I didn't know what the interview was for. They just went, and he kept asking me to send him pictures of the progress. So I was like, well, maybe Mr. Lim, maybe he's just excited about it. Literally, before the end of December, he called me and said, hey, Deondra, we want to bless church girls. My mouth was wide. This is 3 acres, 26 units. And so I'm like, I was speechless.
Yeah, I bet you were.
I didn't know what to do, but I just know that the hand of God is on church girls. That I do know. And so we accepted it. He got his lawyers. We got our lawyers. We wanted to make sure it was clean.
You own it.
I own it.
Wow.
I own it. Yes, ma'am.
Wow. And you said you put that vision board together in when? 20?
Well, my daughter was born in 2009, so it probably was 2010.
Okay. So here we are 15 years later.
15 years later.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. God has been good to us.
Yes. Well, so talk to me, and I know from working with you and working with Bobby and some other organizations that have received grants from the foundation, I know Folkston is an area of need. Talk to me about the needs that are actually existing in Folkston, and is everyone that you're serving? I know you said it was 6 so far. And so I guess I'm going to answer my own question. Not everybody is from Folkston.
Not everybody, no, ma'am.
So,
but Folkston is kind of like Camden. They don't recognize that we do have a homeless problem. And I think it's because of the lack of knowledge, because I could be homeless if I'm sleeping on your couch because I don't have my own home. So that's called couch surfing.
Right.
So, or if I'm sleeping in my car, so Folkston is, like I stated, it's like Camden. So what I had to do is you have to go on the grounds. And Folkston is like Camden. It's about who you know and what you know. So I had to partner with a local church there. And I am really blessed for that church because they are introducing me to the community. My mom was raised in Folkston. Her dad was from Folkston.
Okay.
My grandfather. So people know me, so they trust me. But being in an organization like Church Girls, you have to be a woman, a man of your word. So you have to do exactly what you tell people that you're going to do.
I gotcha.
Yeah. So with
see it to believe it.
You have to see it to believe it. So we partner with Okefenokee and different organizations to help us be able to do what we say we're going to do. If we once we get a grant from Okefenokee, you guys have been phenomenal with supporting Church Girls and making sure that we're able to do the things that we can do for the community.
Well, and if I remember correctly, with the last grant request, you talked about that. I think it's $1,000 on average to renovate a unit so that it is completely cleaned, stripped, redone, and inhabitable.
And that's what we did.
and they're furnished.
And they're furnished, yes, ma'am. So the good thing about that is that we partner with a lot of people, or we make a Facebook post about a family, and a family can adopt a room. So when we were blessed with the foundation, Okefenokee, we were able to, because we used all of the donated stuff for the office.
Yeah.
Because I'm a believer. You saw how the office looked.
Yep.
It didn't look like that when we got it. But I don't want to tell someone we're going to help them and the office is looking like crap.
Yeah.
So once we received the funds from the foundation, we were able to move forth with the other units.
And you've since gotten some other donations.
Yes, and yes. The community has been a very good help to us.
Well, and I imagine, because part of Bobby's focus with Anointed Boxing is with at-risk youth and to give them a purpose and a framework and discipline and work ethic. I know part of what he does with that group is have them do community service. So I think you had said to me that his group had actually assisted.
Yes, they did. They actually we had a community day, and he brought the boys out, and they moved a lot of trash. Bobby has donated paint. Like he has been a phenomenal. And I don't call him Bobby Davis. I call him my big brother because he stands in. When I call him when I have a problem, he is there. He is there.
One of the questions I was going to ask you was, how did you choose the location? But obviously, you didn't. It chose you.
Yes.
And and I think that's, I think it's important to emphasize that you had a vision, you had a dream, you knew there were needs, you put it out there, you prayed on it, the community came to recognize it, and it did materialize.
Yes.
It did materialize.
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
so how long, so what's the plan? How many rooms are you going to try to do it at any given one time? And what is your long-term plan in terms of actually finishing? You said there were 26, you got 6, so you got 20 more to do.
Mm-hmm.
What's the vision? What's the timeline?
So we were supposed to start construction February the 1st
on
the next building, but with the freeze, there are galvanized pipes. The hotel is old.
Yeah.
So I experienced my first busted pipe.
Oh my.
And it messed up building A, which is where my tenants are.
Oh no.
Yeah. And then not only that, the hurricane came and took half of the roof off. Yes.
Oh goodness me.
So those are 2 natural disasters. But I won't complain because God has ordered our steps. We have Nettles Roofing. He has been phenomenal. So he partnered with me, and he's going to replace our roof. Mm-hmm. So we're getting that done. And Betros Plumbing from Jacksonville is coming to do the repiping for us. So that kind of set me back to move to the next building I won't be able to start on the next building until March because I'm going to take the whole month of February just to make sure building A is up and, still good. My tenants are good.
Cover who you have there.
Cover who I have there and make sure the families are safe and feeling comfortable with being there. But yeah.
Now, and you've emphasized families several times. So family could be your one person, your independent lady. But I think when we came to visit, you've got a couple, you've got a family with small children. Family means many different things.
Yes. And I am blessed. When Church Girls started, we were focused on women.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we were focused on women and the restoring of women. But I have a different vision now because I can't shun a woman just because she has a husband and, has a husband. So the husband may have failed on hard times as a family.
Right.
So I literally changed Church Girls' vision in about 2019. Saying that we help families because I believe that we just don't want to pinpoint one person or a mom because she has children, because she could have a husband and the husband can love her and love the children and be a good dad, and they could just fall on hard times.
The family as a whole is struggling.
The family as a whole is struggling. So I said, listen, I want to help families, not just because I have one tenant, and him and I are very close. I talk to him a lot, and we're close because I recognize who he is, and he's actually a single dad.
Okay.
He's a single dad, and he gets his kids every other weekend, and I like that because he still has a family. Even though, him and his ex-wife split up, that's still a family. So we're hitting the whole family dynamic, not just women.
So what kind of community are you creating in your complex? Do the 6 families, how are they developing as a small community?
Very well. Very well. I think that they have become family. Because
amongst themselves.
Themselves. So I one day I was out there in the property, and as you know, we have to walk the property because I don't have a golf cart yet. So we were walking. I was walking delivering mail, and I saw the kids kind of playing together. I'm going to put a playground out there eventually, but we have a picnic table, and they were playing together. And one of the moms came out, and she had lunch for all of the children, not just her children. So it made me feel good because sometimes your family can actually be somebody that you don't even know.
Right.
And because they're coming, some of them are from Waycross, some of them are from Folkston, some of them are from Camden. The guy that I told you about, he's actually from Jacksonville, but he's working in Folkston. So at AJM, so someone from AJM told him about Church Girls, and that's how he got there. So them developing family away from family makes me feel good as the owner out there because they look out for each other. Well,
now, and you call it transitional housing. So what is your expectation of how long someone will be a resident? And does it have a name?
Yes, it's called Church Girls Community.
It's Church Girls Community. There you go.
That's a hard question for me because the mayor of Folkston asked me that. He said, listen, you're doing it from your heart. How long, if it's a transitional center, how long? And so I said, 6 months to a year. And then I went back and I negotiated and I told him, I said, hey, listen, if I get someone or a family that don't have good credit, that can only afford $750 to $850, I'm not going to kick them out after a year.
Yeah.
My heart is not going to let me. So if they can transition, the lease is for a year. If they need to extend it, of course I will.
And the expectation, I guess, when they move in is that they're going to work toward, building and it is to help them get on their feet and to build so that they can find something and afford something that they can maintain.
Well, let me let you know that we actually do very close case management there. It's in me. So I am talking to them about budgeting. I'm talking to them about saving. And eventually, my goal is to partner with someone that does credit to help them because I don't do credit checks. I just do background and make sure your rental history is good. You don't have any evictions or anything like that. But eventually, I want to set them up for success. So Church Girls is kind of like a breather. Okay, I'm here. I don't have to worry about paying $1,600 for a 1-bedroom. I don't have to worry about being evicted because now my board has gotten on to me several times because I am a person that will work with you until the end, until I can, or until they're pulling my coattails saying, okay. But it is just that it's supposed to be a transition to making yourself have
to something
a better
more
life.
permanent. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's evolving. And I mean, like you said, I mean, these are your first few tenants, and they didn't all move in at the same time.
No, ma'am.
Either.
No, ma'am.
And now they've been sort of disrupted a bit because of.
But they've been great. They've been great. I've even said to them, I'm so sorry. Of course, we're rent deductions or whatever because of the uncomfortable state. But they're all like, we're not going anywhere, Ms. D. We're here. This is what we need. And a lot of them tell me, you helped me when no one else would. And so I believe that we're all making our way through this transition.
Well,
of the construction.
You certainly have a passion for what you're doing. That is undeniable and unquestionable. And I mean, I think I saw it when I first met you, but then to see, what has developed since then, and just the connections you've made and the impact that you're having. Because like you said, you're not just doing this as Church Girls Community, but standing alone. There, you are connected with the city. You are connected with the housing agency. You're connected with the mayor. So I mean, the local churches. And then you've got the community helping you with the next steps to aid other people. And I mean, kudos to you for putting yourself out there, for having the vision, for, putting in the energy. And, I know, like you said, what inspired you originally was your own experience when your daughter was born and she was little and you couldn't come home right away.
Right.
So you stayed at the Ronald McDonald House. That is different than who you're assisting. But, I know there have been bumps. But what keeps you going? What keeps you driving forward?
I think I can't even say I know I am passionate about leaving my daughter an inheritance. I am 90, and when she listens to this, she's going to say, hey, I am 100% sure that I'm going to be able to leave her something that she'll be able to pass down to her children. And that is what keeps me going because I just turned 40, but I don't know many 40-year-olds that if I close my eyes today or tomorrow, my daughter's going to be set. And I don't take that lightly because my mom was 16 and my dad was 17 when they had me. And so I am the oldest of 8 siblings, and I started working at the age of 15.
My goodness.
But that's because I wanted to, because I wanted to buy me a car and I wanted to do this. And so my parents are great parents. I have 4 great parents. I have my mom, and she's married to my dad, Todd. Then I have my dad, Nate, who's married to my mom, Vanessa. And so I had a very big blended family. But I made up in my mind, I think when I was a senior in high school, that if I ever had a kid, I wanted her to always, him or her, to always have something to fall back on, and that nobody will never be able to take this away from her. Her mom built this from the ground up. Literally.
So where do you fall in the 8?
I'm the oldest.
You're the oldest. Okay, well, this drive of yours has just always been there.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, you're the oldest kid. I got to babysit for my 3 sisters that actually live, 4, because we have a god sister, 4 that lives with my mom, and then my dad has 4 children. So these kids, they look up to me still. And they're all grown, but they're going to call me. They're going to say, Dee, they're going to get my opinion. And I want to set an example for them. But not just them. I want my daughter to always know that no matter what, nobody will never be able to take this away from her. My drive comes from my daughter. My drive comes from my daughter and just making sure that she is always taken care of.
So in taking care of her, you've taken that energy and now you're taking care of others.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I wanted her to grow up with a heart like mine. Mm-hmm. I want her to grow up because I believe that to be able to be any leader, you must be a servant. So I am serving all of God's people, all of his children. Mm-hmm. I want her to mimic that.
Very, very good. Well, how can people find out more about Church Girls?
We have a website, which is called www.churchgirls.info. Okay. We still have our locations in Kingsland, and we're open there on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays.
Okay.
God has blessed me. My mom actually runs that location.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I can't be. It's in construction needs me right now. So my mom, she kind of changed a few things around. So she runs it Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 9 to 4. Miss Carmen has been working for Church Girls for 3 years.
And so this is the original blessing room and resource room.
The original.
So their mission continues to be the same.
Mm-hmm.
But from what you said earlier, it's not just women focused, it's family.
So
family
in the blessing
focused.
room, yes, in the blessing room, it's kids' clothes, it's men clothes, it's women, it's everybody, essential items, toothbrushes.
And they can just come in and
they can just
pick
come
what
in
they need.
and pick what they need. Miss Carmen will put it in a nice, pretty bag for them and let them go on.
Social media?
Social media, yes. We have Instagram, which is Church Girls, INC. We have a Facebook, so they can reach out to us on any platform.
So, and they can get more information, not just about what you're doing, but also how to be supportive.
Yes.
If they're looking to be supportive.
On the website, most definitely.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
And then there's information about how to actually get a hold of you if need be.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, very good. Well, I mean, Deondra, like I said, I have seen you grow your mission and your reach and extend your heart and passion to this project and the Church Girls community. And, I've learned a lot today, too, that I did not know. And I mean, to think that it started as a prayer line.
Yes, ma'am.
Which is a very intangible thing, but can obviously make a huge, huge difference in the lives of people who have nothing else to grab and hope for.
Yes, ma'am.
To so much tangible, that the impact is great, and I think the community is better for it and for you.
Yes, ma'am.
So if you'd like to learn more about Church Girls, as Miss Deondra said, she has her website and social media. She would love to hear from you.
Yes.
And if you want to get involved in learning more about how you can help make a difference, check it out and reach out. So again, Deondra, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
All right. Well, God bless you.
Yes, ma'am. God bless you as well.
Take care, everybody.